Women hit the wall around 30. Whoa. For my ladies that are listening post 30, let's get into that one.
The Self-Hype Podcast.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Self-Hype Podcast. It's your boy, Eli Vasquez. And this week, we are debunking red pill ideology. The myths, the BS, the manosphere garbage of all things red pill. I'm going to go through it as a reformed dusty man who's done the work and has coached women for the last 6 years. I'm here to give you the real of what I really think about this red pill shit. And we're all going to have a good old time just debunking and rolling our eyes together. So we're going to have a whole lot of fun, and there's going to be a whole lot of lessons, and I'm excited to jump into it. What's up, everyone? Beautiful day. I'm like, dude, we got to record this damn season. We got to jump on it. We got to do the damn thing. A lot of life transition, a lot of craziness. First episode was I had a lot of feelings in that one, but I don't want to step away from that. Again, this season of life is really tapping into gifts and really tapping into owning my gifts and what I love about myself and giving energy to what I love about myself. It's so easy for us to be assholes to ourselves. It's way difficult. I mean, it has to be a conscious, disciplined effort to actually be kind to ourselves. And that's something I really want everyone to really receive and listen to, because you got to remind yourself why you're great. Our brain's so hardwired to be fearful and to think we're less than and everything else. And it can make life, if not checked intentionally, very hard and very exhausting. So I want everyone to really just own the fact that give some time and space to be kind to yourselves and own and say the things that of why you're great. So I love that I'm creative, and it's important that I give life and love to that. So if it's me writing scripts, if it's me, planning bigger, more narrative projects for you all to consume, or for even bigger projects, like the dream and goal I'm putting out in the universe right now on this show is, I love coaching. I love what I get to talk about, and I want to take it even further by blending my first true passion, which was filmmaking. And if I could create a show, sell it to Hulu, Netflix, what have you, have like a Master of None, Diary of a Former Fuckboy, no bullshit, like attachment style ratchet that feels funny and fun and healing and grounded, that gives people hope for love in a real, honest take and way, I would be happy. And that's what I'm manifesting. That's a TV show, series, making that happen, everybody. And I get paid lots of money, then I could pay off my student loans and buy my mom a house. So why that kind of, there is actually no transition. I was like, now, speaking of, there's nothing I said that was speaking of red pill, manosphere, any of that. So we're not going to try to connect the dots. It's okay. We're doing our best. I think a part of like doing work that used to be scary is that when I'm nervous, I think really fast and I could like crack kind of dumb jokes and connective tissue. But now I feel more relaxed doing this. So I'm just like, don't have any transition. Oh, well, let's get into the episode. But I promise I'll still keep it fun and light. Just keep listening, everyone. I appreciate it. We'll get a sponsor one day. And if you want to be a sponsor on this show, let me know. Now, so I want to get into this red pill manosphere stuff because it's like, bruh. Like we've seen, there's the documentary that's out with oh boy kind of following around red pill guys, and it wasn't that good of a documentary. I know, and maybe if you're not used to the internet or social, or you're really deep in female algorithm, maybe it is a shock to you. But as a guy, it's like, this is pretty surface level. And I kind of wish he went a little deeper, and I wish they broke down the psychology more and the culture in itself. It kind of felt like just a drop in the water of, this is bad. Great. Okay. It didn't really hit on, like, I wish they did a more like journalistic, social, like sociology, like deep dive in terms of the psyche of man. And I guess with that said, there we go. We found the connective tissue now. I see. I told you I'll keep it fun. I want to start doing that. I think me kind of really giving space to debunk the red pill ideology and mindset is pretty beneficial given my background. I am a straight man. I grew up as one my whole life. And I remember being afraid. I remember being that insecure young man. I remember all those things. And seeing this stuff online, I could only imagine being some 15-year-old to 19-year-old, just really impressionable, feeling really insecure, and seeing the social climate of men suck, men are terrible, men are awful, they're useless. There's a whiplash, cause and effect to all those things. So I'm not shocked by this being appealing to men. I just wish there was more stuff out there of what is again the healthy masculinity. But you have like, and I get all the ladies listening to this, like, yes, not in the way you want. It's not going to be the way you want, because as a guy, I know exactly what you're talking about, and women consume content differently from guys. It's similar, but it's different. And I always think about like when I launch my coaching program for men, how I'm going to have to not only tweak the program itself, but also tweak the content and how I reach out to them, because it is different. And a lot of personal wellness and a lot of internet is very catered to women. And then believe me, there's a whole bunch of chunks for men too. But in terms of personal wellness and development, a lot of it is leaned towards a certain way to receive it. And so all that to say is, I just want to share some facts and figures of someone who's been coaching not only women, but who has been also a straight man, to debunk this red pill shit. Because a lot of it is just a whole lot of insecurity. So we're going to break down a couple of them. We might go dive deeper into some, but let's just let it rip, everybody. All right, let's jump into it. So number one, debunking red pill BS is women only want the top 10 to 20% of men. The 80-20 rule, if you will. I hear this a lot, and boy, is it great for clickbait. Boy, is it great to piss men off and say, you see, all you ladies online talk about being alone and sad and there's no good guys, but in reality, you're just going off of the top 10, 20% of dudes. You want them 6 foot, abs, and all that. Look, everyone's going to have their damn preference. And I'll self-disclose here, because some people have been curious about it. I'm 5'8", right? Okay, I make good money. I'm an entrepreneur. I do pretty well for myself. I'm not bad looking, but I'm 5'8". And a lot of women aren't going to like that. And I could feel insecure about that, but I see it as a filter. Like, I don't want a woman that only wants certain qualities of type of guy. I think even if I was 6 foot, I would feel some type of way of a woman only wanting me because I was a height. That's like, I only want to be with a woman because she has big boobs. Like, you're allowed to have a preference, but to have that dictate your worldview is pretty hard to hear. And I just say that all to say is, one, it's not true, because I work with tons of women who date guys that do not check those 10 to 20% rules. And then two, it's not necessarily true, because I'm pretty sure if you can make a girl laugh despite you checking that 10 to 20%, that's pretty damn good. And especially if you ask them some decent ass questions. Now, are there some F-boys that are good at spitting game and doing all these things that are 5'6"? Yeah. And these poor ladies got to be heartbroken and say, I got dumped and discarded over a man 5'6" with no hairline. Like, it's just not true. And there's not enough men out there to be the 10%. And I've seen it time and time again. If anything, the top 10 per 20% of women, and when I talk to guys that are lower end, the amount of women I coach that are accomplished, driven women, love lives are down the tube. Now, that's a whole other psychology to break down, because they're looking for a project, not a partner. And that's something they had to work through to unpack and, disengage with. But it's such a blanket term, and it's so easy to piss off men. And that's why red pill stuff, that's why they have these one-liners, to piss off men, to have them engage and feel validated in their pain. And that's the reality of it. But it's using that validation and skewing it in a direction of hatred towards another without actual backed claims. So through my lived experience, at least, that's not true. I know the frustration of it, though, as a man. I know what it's like to see a baddie online and her not to talk to you. I know what it's like to seemingly look at marketing and what is hot and what is not. I grew up Puerto Rican before being Puerto Rican was cool. I had curly hair before it was cool. And I was insecure about a lot of parts of myself because marketing wise, I didn't fulfill this Eurocentric beauty standard. So I know that lines like this trigger everyone and makes them feel excluded, and that pisses you off. But it's great to have someone engage with that and get pissed at that if you're trying to start a cult, which is pretty much what it does. Let's keep it moving. Number 2 is the women are biologically wired to seek a higher status partner. And it kind of goes back to the 10 to 20% rule. Again, we hit on this, right? I get why a woman would want to be with a tall guy. I get why a woman would want to be with a guy that makes a lot of money. I get why a woman would want to be with a guy that's masculine and looks good and all that. Like, that makes sense to me. But it's the type of people that will solely date someone based on just status. And those are not the type of women men should even want to be with. No one should want to date someone just based on their status. That's not actual love. That's not actual life partnership. Because I'll say I make pretty good money, but if a woman dates me just because I make pretty good money and she doesn't want to do anything for herself and she just expects to have me take care of her, that's not a lifestyle I want. Because that's just telling me that the only reason why she's here is because what I can give her. And I get that's love at a certain point. It's conditional one way or the other. But I want someone who's going to love me for me. Because what if I can't work? What if I can't make money and we're going through the struggle together? And if you see some of the best relationships, they go through highs and lows together. And it's finding someone who wants the high and low. And I think too many men get taken advantage of like, well, I need to attract women, but I don't have money and status and all this. So these red pill guys like shine all this fancy carrots in front of you saying like, hey, you want chicks? You got to do this, that, and the other. So all these guys talk about, oh, it's not about women. It's not about men, women. It's about men. You're doing everything for women. You're joining these programs and like investing thousands of dollars for women. Like, you're doing all this for, if it wasn't about a woman, you wouldn't get a haircut. I know I wouldn't. Jesus Christ. So it cut the BS that it's not for women. It's for men. Bull fucking shit. But everyone's seeking something in terms of a beauty preference, but you meet someone and there's actual depth there and growth. That person's very sexy and attractive once you get to know them. And yeah, like I said, the amount of women I've seen, I've known that says, hey, these are my preferences, and then who they end up marrying, very different. Okay. Because you realize there's more to a person based on just status. So I get that there is, and I will acknowledge this, because I'm not saying all the stuff they're saying is bad. It's stemming from some sort of like just lived experience, right? So like, I think that's a blanket statement, but also you can look at it and say, sure, but that's a general like consensus towards anybody looking for love, not just women only want higher up men. Now, I get women want a man that might be doing better than them, and I get that there might be women that get educated, women that make more money, women that want all those things, and they're like boss level corporate baddies, and they're doing great for themselves. But the issue is if they want someone better than them, then that means they are moving all the way up to a very limited hierarchy. And now this isn't me complaining about women that are in this space, but there's also a coming to Jesus moment of there's not a lot of guys at my level, and there's even less guys at a level above me that are actually open to be with me and be monogamous and actually all those things. Because love is hard in itself. So the higher you go up, if you want someone better than you, then there's going to be a smaller pool. And that's just kind of how it is. And don't blame me, blame the government and the patriarchy and capitalism making everyone poorer and poorer every year, which is actually a good video idea. I think I could position the economy around this statement. Money, patriarchy, blame that. Red pill, like that. This is a good idea. We're creating ideas mid podcast. This is incredible. I'm a content machine around this topic, everybody. We're back, baby. We are back. All right. So let's keep going. Number 3, nice guys finish last. Oh my God. Whew. Okay. Is there some truth to this? Yes. Okay. A lot of guys have lived the experience of being a really nice guy. And then they get heartbroken. Then they get lied to. Happened to me a bunch of times. And then they double down and then become a fuckboy asshole. And then they end up hurting other people. And then, luckily for me, I was able to get my shit together and be a decent human being. And I hate this nice guys finish last line because even if it's true, because some women have acknowledged there's podcasts and stuff that like, yeah, I'm not ready to date the nice guy now. I'm going to make these mistakes, which makes sense. You're young and you're dumb, and that's men and women. You should grow up, make mistakes, learn from pattern recognition, make better decisions going forward. That's the whole point. And if you date bad boys, I don't want to date you. I think that's what I mean about messaging for men, and let it be healthier, is what's the type of women you even want? Because if a woman only dates bad boys and thinks safe, stable, consistent men are boring, that woman has unchecked trauma that she needs to go to therapy with. And I'm not going to be that partner to help her figure that out because she's just not going to think I'm attractive. So a lot of people have a lot of growing up to do, but for some reason, we just tend to think all women are the same and they're just going to flock to this certain type of person. So I got to make sure I'm that person. And it creates the internet for this like crazy this or that experience of like, well, I don't want to be a nice guy, so that means I have to be a bad guy. What if you're just a decent human being? What if you're like, you could be considerate, but also not take any shit? And that's men and women, because a lot of women deal with this pressure too of, well, I don't want to be the nice girl. I have to be the bibbidi bobbidi boop, sparkle, sparkle, bim bam boom bop type baddie and be an asshole. No, you don't. And if someone is an asshole, I'm going to assume that they're just scared and insecure. So what happened to putting some respect on nice guys' names? Because there's this assumption that they're just pushovers and they're lame and they're not sexy and all these things. I love that I'm a nice guy. And I remember when I was younger, someone telling me that kind of annoyed me because we're constantly comparing ourselves to other men. It's kind of just big dick energy where she's like, yeah, my ex was a bad boy, but you're so sweet and nice. Okay, it's weird how in my mind he seems like this alpha and I don't feel like that guy. So I feel like my peepee got smaller and his got bigger. And you bounced on that and that turns me off. So this might be a little tip for ladies. Just don't tell your guy he's the nice guy. Just tell him that he's sexy and empowering and how what he does, just acknowledge what he does and how it makes you feel. That's the hottest thing. So because all the guys just want to be that guy. They want to be that man. They want to be that dog. Just like you want to be that soft girl princess that you see in the movies, men want to be that knight in shining armor for you. So you got to keep making them feel like the knight in shining armor, not the nice little dweeb who showed up last because you're putting pity on him and you'd rather be with a nice guy. So there is some psychology there. But again, notice how all these terms trigger the insecurities of men. Like I could see my insecurities, and we've only done 3 and I see my insecurities in all these things. And that's something I have to manage because if I don't manage it, then these like one-liners end up dictating my day-to-day life. And then I end up being pissed at the world and pissed at women. And rather than taking accountability of my own emotions and self and trying to find my woman, that's the thing. It's like that's one thing no one's talking about. Women too fall for it as well. I deserve a man that's 6'5". I want a man that's got money like that. I want a man that da 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 da. Girl, you don't want that finance private equity bro who's got money and yeah, he's tall white boy with a trust fund. He's gonna be such an asshole and he doesn't need you. So you're gonna have to be the blonde ditzy dumb girl in order to be with him. So just something to keep in mind. And just like men too, you want to be with the big booty baddie who's just hot as hell. There's going to be some terms and conditions with that as well. All right. Let's keep seeing. Women only respect dominant alpha males. I would say dominant alpha males have to project a dominant alpha energy. And then they attract insecure women who don't know how to speak up for themselves. I think people find people on a subconscious nervous system wound level. So this guy has to be Mr. Big Dick McGee And a certain woman that is willing to challenge him might be turned off by that, or maybe go on a couple dates and not interested. And then maybe a woman that can't speak up for herself and just kind of normalizes and enables the type of patterns he's producing in order to make the relationship work. Because I mean, again, I'm not here to tout. Fuck that. I did. I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm gonna own my stuff. I'm great. I was gonna say it right now. I'm freaking dope because I'm a nerd that grew up in the hood. I'm the nerd that grew up with a dad that held shit down, but I'm a big old softy at heart. So I've been blessed and highly favored to have a really good mix of really being empathetic, really being compassionate, really caring, but also knowing that I'm a damn man and I don't take any shit. So I'm considerate. I'll listen to you, but also I'm not going to be a pushover. And that was an issue for me in past relationships. But to say that only women respect dominant alpha males is totally false. And there's what real, like, because that's kind of leaning into toxic territory, toxic relationship territory. If we're going to talk about like healthy partnership, if I have to be some dominant alpha male in order for you to respect me, then you're not my person. I don't want to have to be hard badass all the time. If you need that from me 24/7, that's non-sustainable. So get ready for me to have passive aggressiveness. Get ready for me to just lash out emotionally because I need some moment of decompression and weakness. I need some, and you're my person. So when I'm facing the world, you should be that person that holds me. It's that whole thing of, and this is the next one. It leans into the next one. Okay, never show emotion or vulnerability in front of a woman. Such bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna break it down right now. This is why that statement drives me crazy. I hear all the time, men shouldn't cry in front of women because if you cry, they're gonna see your vulnerability, and if they see the vulnerability, then they'll leave you. There's the goddamn door. How is it more alpha and confident to say, hey, don't cry in front of girls or else they won't like you anymore? That's like an 8-year-old boy talking to a freshman in high school again, and he's giving him the 8-year-old advice. Who gives a damn what that woman thinks? If this is my truth and this is how I express my emotion and it's a vulnerable moment and you can't hold space for that, then you're not my life partner, because the type of relationship I want requires depth and vulnerability. Okay, and if you're gonna be turned off by that, girl, here's a therapist. Go on BetterHelp. Do yourself a favor. You see, this is why we need a sponsor, because this would be a good BetterHelp subscription. Shout out. But that's, again, is this the type of woman you want to be with? So all these guys think, well, I have to be strong and I have to be alpha, I have to be all these things all the time. And I get the messaging where, well, no, you could be soft, you could be weak. Oh, hell no. You could cry and still be a badass. You could express emotion and say, oh my God, I'm feeling overwhelmed. That's why I love the Odyssey, because Odysseus is such a badass in the movie, but also he has his shortcomings. Also, he has his imperfections. Also, he's weak in a lot of moments. He has to tie himself to a damn pole because he knows he's not strong enough. And that's what makes a real hero, is to know that you're not strong all the time, but that also doesn't dictate your self-worth. And that's why that love lasted for 20 years, Who said she didn't, bounce on Robert Pattinson? That's a whole other story. But anyway, that's the reality of it. That's what drives me crazy, is it's so built on insecurity and worry around women liking you versus trying to find your partner that is going to serve you as your highest self as a man. So that's the one that always drives me crazy. Women hit the wall around 30. Whoa. For my ladies that are listening post 30, let's get into that one. So, women hit the wall around 30. The only thing I could say about that, and again, I'm not going to be full on drop in the water like men are dumb, women are great. Do they lose value? No, at fucking course not. A lot of this stems from insecurity of men because you lived more life and hooked up with more guys, and thus that makes them compare their dick to other guys' dicks, And so they get turned off and rather have less competition because they're insecure about their sexual performance and dick size. That's honestly probably the most blatant, honest take I could give on a lot of these terms is everyone's just comparing their penis to another man. And the more penises you've had, the more turned off they get. But again, what type would you even want to be with that type of guy, right? Like that's the whole thing. And sexual preference and lifestyle is one thing. I get that. But like to assume that a lot of it stems from men's insecurity sexually. But also, too, the only thing I can say that's like, okay, first off, the value thing is just such horseshit. But the only worry I could see with someone wanting to date someone in their 30s is women have a biological clock, men do too. I just did a post on this. I got a lot of comments on it. I get it. Men also have a biological clock. But there is a social pressure that luckily men do not have, that women have to face every day of what the hell they're doing in terms of their lives. And 30s is a very crucial time to figure that out. Now, are all women stressed and wanting to have a baby? No. But we're speaking in just generalities of what you should check in on depending on the person that you're dating, on the age that they're in. Okay. And that is 30s. You might be 25 dating another 23-year-old, and your lives could be very different too. So it's good to check in on these things. It's just a little more prominent and should be more of a focus if a woman's in her 30s. But women hitting a wall is BS. People are getting married later, settling down later. And I don't say that to make people feel good. I say that for actual factual evidence of just the state of culture of how we're living. Because the whole 30 thing is such an archaic idea. And also, everything's freaking expensive. It goes back to the economy. Oh my God. We're going to be making a lot of like political posts. Money over 30. Love that. Okay. Fantastic. So that's the big thing. So, let's see. I want to hit on a couple more because I know we've been going a bit. Let's see. A man's value comes from money, status, and muscles. A woman's value comes from youth and beauty. That's bullshit. I'll be a little quicker with these because I want to give as much value as I can in this episode. Yeah, so a man's value comes from money, status, and muscles. A woman's value comes from youth and beauty. Are those archetypes that throughout human history has been a thing? Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't. To say in modern age that this is the main thing still, no, it's not. I'll put it this way. I don't like women that are trad wives. I like educated women that have full-on careers. That actually really is attractive to me. I think it's really hot. I think you're driven and you have goals that are bigger than you. That's very attractive to me. And there's a lot of men that are into that too. But everyone has preferences. Like, again, it goes back to the height thing. It goes back to, body type and who do you find attractive and personality and all that. Because there's a lot of men that don't have muscles that are getting asked left and right, okay? Because they bring a certain type of energy to the table. So that's BS. Let's see. You should never chase, always make women chase you. Interesting. Well, when we say the word chase, I honestly don't think anyone should chase anybody. I think men should go up to women, say what's up with it. She's not interested. You keep it moving and move on with your day. The whole and I would admit this love stories of our grandparents, very toxic in today's culture. My grandpa drove every day next to my grandma as she walked home from work because my grandma didn't want to go in the car with him, but he was relentless. So, and eventually she was like, fine, I'll go in the car. I would go to jail if I was my grandpa in 2026. So I don't think anyone should be chasing any damn buddy. I think you say, hey, I like you. And if they're not interested, then you leave it at that and save your energy. So I don't think there's any chasing going on. And, I will say that, is there something about a sexy confidence of a man that just doesn't chase? And when I mean chase, doesn't have to feel like overly give you something? Sure, definitely. I'll give you that. Let's see. Men and women can't really be friends. Yeah, you can. I know women will also say otherwise, but that's because you've been hurt, and it's okay, Queen. I understand. But I have a lot of female friends. Some I did have very short stints of history with, like over 10 years ago, and some that I've never even remotely thought of dating ever in a million years. And I just feel comfortable with women. That's why I coach them. So, but that should be discussed and talked about. I think again, it's how you navigate conversation. So if he's very like distant and weird about it, doesn't share anything about it, doesn't want you two to meet each other and gets defensive every time you bring them up, that's a problem. Versus, I'm going to tell you I have female friends immediately, but I'm not going to make that a thing because I understand how that could make you feel, and I'm going to check in on you with that. So all that to say. Body count determines a woman's ability to pair bond. I don't know the science behind this. I've seen comments and there's not a whole lot of truth to that. Do I think there's this collective nature of experiences that if you do it enough, it's going to lose its sense? With sex, no, but with falling in love, maybe. And I'm speaking just personal experience. You go through anything multiple times. You build up a certain level of scar tissue, of pattern recognition of, well, I'm afraid to fall in love. I'm afraid to give myself to someone, or like I have these new rules and terms and conditions. And so because you have that, it's harder to find a mate. But it's not because you don't have the ability to love. It's just you have the life experience of understanding what you like, what you don't like, and what you're really looking for. In terms of the whole body count thing, I am under the impression, and again, this is just my personal take. You could do whatever the hell you want. Man or woman, it's not a good sign that you have a high body count. And you're talking to someone that has a high body count. But if you talk to anyone during the peak of their highest body count, were they actually happy? No. And why it is because you spend so much energy seeking external validation from other people. And a lot of the times that just says, I wanted to be seen, not knowing that that was an internal process. So if you're self-aware of that process and you've done the work in that process, that's great. But if you constantly need validation externally, that's really scary to date someone like that, because if we have some issues, I'm afraid that you're going to have to do that knee jerk of getting validation elsewhere. That's the only red flag I could really see in terms of that stuff. Let's see something like right. Dating is a power game where one person must. We'll end on that. Dating is a power game where one person must have leverage. What the hell? Oh my God, all this stuff is so damned fucking insecure. It's so like the way I date now is so significantly different from how I dated prior, because I was this stuff would be triggering the hell out of me. It would make me think all women are hoes, and it's so hard to find a wifey because they just don't exist. Like, this is what I mean. It's just triggering on like the social media language and verbiage is triggering on everyone's insecurities and is instilling themselves in the development of human beings. I'm an internet dinosaur. I'm 30 goddamn 6. So I know what the internet was and what it wasn't and what it was planning to be and what it ended up being. And I was a big part of that process too. So it just really scares me for young men and young women. So many women, and it's even affected people my age. Dating now is so different because the internet has been so flooded into our brains, where I remember when I dated like 5-6 years ago, it was separate. It was still like a separation between church and state. Now it's all in the mix. So all the verbiage, all the thinking, all that. It's like when you go on a date, you scroll on the way to the date about why the opposite sex is just awful. And it's almost like everyone has collectively has a friend that dated the person you're about to go on a date with and has said they're not the best, but so be on the lookout. But it was a long time ago. It's like, yeah, it's like your friend saying like, yeah, we dated in high school, but he was kind of a dick, but go have fun. So you're like, well, I don't know. Is he going to be a piece of shit, or is she going to be for the streets, or is he going so there's this extra layer of insecurity and fear that's there now. And that's all this is just fear. And again, it goes back to like, who do you want? Who makes you feel like you're alive? Who makes you feel like your heart is racing? Who, not in like a scary, like, I need you to love me because you're hot kind of way, but like, who feels like your favorite song? And your favorite song just feels good and it's safe and it's regulating and it's consistent. That's what we need to be looking for. But it's fucking hard, dude. It's hard when you have insecurities. It's hard when you have fear. It's hard when you feel you have social pressure. It's hard when you're going through all these things. So I get with this internet verbiage of what it's doing to women. And also, this is what it's doing to men. I know you could probably thought you're going to jump in this episode and it's me not going to give any remorse towards young men that are digesting this stuff. But I just see a lot of men that feel unseen and unheard and being taken advantage of. And that is what hurts. But we can't forget that they feel unseen and unheard. And for my people saying, well, Eli, why don't you create programs and coach men and da-da-da-da? Girl, I would freaking love to. All right, I wasn't planning to only coach women. It just turned into this way. And honestly, it's very healing. And it makes a lot of sense given my history of just women in my life and me just feeling extremely comfortable around female energy. But I do want to work with men. And it is a dream of mine. Honestly, it's just a capacity thing. I built a whole brand around navigating, women. And if you've seen my content, I do sprinkle in more general content and I do sprinkle in male forward content. But I'm so deep in the female algorithm now that it's hard to get out of. So the capacity of creating a new program and the capacity of creating a new marketing plan and the capacity of shifting is a lot. But don't worry, I am in the pursuit and in the process of figuring out some avoidant man 101 experience. And I work with men too. I tell men all the time, I will gladly work with you one-on-one. I just do these group boot camps every month. And there's a lot of women, just the last thing they want is to be around a guy right now. So even though they see me as, it's a different relationship with me. But I say all that to say is there is hope. There is men that has done the work. I think the red pill thing is a big part of this, conservative Republican whiplashing wave that we're kind of riding. And I don't think it's here to stay. And I think there is hope for the future because everything it's like a pendulum weight with culture where, okay, we're going to have this whiplash of red pill bullshit. Then whatever becomes mainstream for too long, us as humans to get bored. So then we switch to a different end. So I could see us getting really destructing this, and hopefully that deconstruction turns into a more permanent, grounded balance of, yes, I'm acknowledging that you're not being seen, but this is the right way to go about it versus leaning into fear and insecurity, which is such a deeper conversation of how our country is, how governments control population, how marketing takes advantage, and how capitalism is the driving force that's dividing and just having us bump our heads. Who knew that this red pill episode was going to be so political? But I don't give a damn. If you see my content, I don't mess around with that. I dive into that as well. But there is hope. And don't give up hope. I know it can feel really scary, but know that social media has turned into your local news station where it could be a puddle on the ground, but 6 hours away. But they will say, flash flood. So a lot of this, as a man, I'm telling you, who's around men, it's not 100%. We're all dicks, manosphere, red pill assholes. And I'm going to make sure I promote that women aren't all money grabber, clout chasing, top 10% guys either. Because I've seen it time and time again that that's not the case. So please do your best to separate this whole social media thing. Take time off social. Go talk to more people. Join clubs and meet different walks of life, because a lot of this shit I could look right through, this red pill stuff, and I could tell you 1,000 times over with 1,000 stories of women I've helped throughout the years that they're looking just to be seen and loved. And unfortunately, a lot of this red pill stuff makes men be assholes. That triggers women's already set probably traumas and insecurities of their upbringing, that they end up falling into toxic relationships in this way. But because these guys are scared. But there is hope. And you could do the damn work yourself to make sure you never fall for these traps either. Super proud of you. Okay, thanks for listening to this week's episode, everybody. Red Pill, Manosphere. So yeah, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank Ahmad, my editor. This season's going to be fun. The season's going to be a little personal. I'm going to be self-disclosing some experiences, from years back. I've been alive long enough where I think I could share certain stories about my life, where my story of rebounding, why I rebounded, where my mindset was, how the relationships turned out, and all that. I think self-disclosing in terms of emotionally how I'm processing certain things in the current day and age. And just to be a little more open to you guys, because I'm growing up with this brand, and brand. I don't even like that word brand. I'm growing up with this show. And I just appreciate you guys being here along the ride. And it's been so beautiful to just say I get to do this. So just know that your messages mean a lot. The people that send me DMs or random comments like, oh my God, I love your podcast, or when's the next episode coming out? That means so much, because I don't know who the hell's listening to this. So if you could give a review, if you could give 5 stars, if you say, oh my God, this show's dope, Spotify, Apple, all those things helps us out so much. And if you guys want to work together, my Healthy Love Club, links in the show notes. Join it, hang with us. We meet every week. We do the damn work together. Kind of nervous system regulation, healing that attachment, exposure therapy, life design. That's what it's all about. Okay. So with that said, you're super cute. Talk to you later, Queen. See you next week. Peace.
The Self Hype Podcast.